Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another experience. My name is Leo Walker. Y'all know me as the host of the platform. I'm the owner and CEO of A Know to Touch Health, Fitness, and Beauty, where we use godly principles to help men and women grow spiritually, physically, and mentally through weight loss and through their daily struggles. Um, we on here today. I got another good guest coming on, Pastor Ricardo. I'm gonna get him to talk to y'all for a minute. He's gonna give you some of his wisdom. Man, this brother here is a strong brother, and he got a lot. And I really think y'all will get a lot out of him because I know I have just from talking to him in the few times I have. And, in the last two guests that I've had, I haven't, God, I know it's God because it ain't that we talk. And I didn't even know him like that. He knows my aunt. So we became friends. Now God has put us in a place where we're talking. So I really appreciate him. Just anytime I asked him, just like my last guest, he just say, yeah, sure. What can I do? What I need to do? So that's all of Christ, and that's Christ within him, and he's walking within the Spirit. So, I'm gonna let him go ahead and introduce himself. So y'all, because I don't want to speak for him, but let him introduce yourself and where you at and what you're doing. But go ahead, Pastor, let him know.
Yes, good evening. I should say good afternoon.
Afternoon.
To everyone. I am Elder Ricardo Malone, the executive pastor of the Bethel Church here in Miami, Florida, where Apostle Carlos L. Malone Sr. is the pastor, and he just so happened to be my brother.
Hmm.
But that's where I'm planted. But the Lord has really afforded me to do a lot ministry wise, and travel a lot of places and minister the word of God. And I'm grateful, and I want to thank Leo for asking me to be on with him today. One of the things that I understand, um, as a man of God, or as a human being, or just as a man in general, you have to get to a point in your life where you understand that you just not that important.
Hmm.
You know, that you just not that important, to take the time to help others, or just to be a part or support what someone else is doing. And I believe that the greatest way to be blessed is be a blessing to someone else. And sometimes that requires sacrifice. You know, and a sacrifice is not truly a sacrifice unless you can feel it. you
Mm,
know
mm,
Unless you can
right.
feel it, you know uh, then it's really not a sacrifice. I'm not saying that it's not a sacrifice, but a true sacrifice is when you do something to help someone else, or make yourself uncomfortable so that someone else can be comfortable. So I want to thank Leo for asking me to be a part of what he's doing, and I would always make myself available to what he's doing, as he should need me in the future. But I was sharing with Leo, that I'm just a guy, man. I'm just a guy that God saw something in and decided to do something through. I spent 20 years of my life on crack cocaine. 20 years. I'm not talking about 20 minutes or 20 days. I'm saying 20 years. The last 10 years of that addiction was complete devastation. Complete devastation. I destroyed my first marriage. I smoked up houses, apartments, cars, relationships, jobs, um, relationship with my kids, relationships with my family, as well as my friends. Crack cocaine carried me further than I wanted to go, and kept me longer than I had intended on staying. You know, and it just became a thing in my life, a stronghold in my life, a demonic spirit in my life that I could not shake. I couldn't shake. I think I entered at least six drug programs, and it didn't work. Mainly because I didn't work it. They'd say in program language, it works when you work it.
Okay. Right.
And so, I always use those avenues basically as out, and so I ended up leaving, born and raised in East St. Louis, Illinois,
Mm.
my hometown. I love it. I still do. I go back there a lot to minister and things of that nature. I have family back there and friends, that's still there. And some of my kids are in that area. Actually, they're in the Belleville area and the St. Louis area as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
And so, after I burned every bridge there, I went to Atlanta. Went to Atlanta, did the same thing. Same thing happened, crack cocaine, smoked up jobs, smoked up apartments, smoked up relationships. And so then I told myself this line, well, hey, I'm gonna go to Miami where my family was. My brother had the church here, my mother was here, some of my brothers and sisters were here as well. So let me go there. But the strange thing about that is that I didn't leave me nowhere.
Mm.
Everywhere I went, there I was. And it's a bad day but a good day when you discover that your issue is you. you know and so I was carrying my issue everywhere I went. And so I came here. I made a lot of promises, to that what I was going to do, I was going to do better. And I'm the oldest of 10. you
Okay.
know
Okay.
you know and so I had been prophesied to about what God was going to do in my life. I heard it. It sounded good, sounded enticing, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to do the. I wanted to go to church. I wanted to look good in church. But I would come to church and then leave church and go to the nearest dope. you know,
Yeah.
you know, uh, and that's what I would do, and then go and get high all day. you know, um, so that's how I lived my life. I wasn't fooling nobody, and until it got to a point to where it just completely consumed my life.
Life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it completely consumed my life, and so I just became a heathen. I just became a heathen. I started hanging on the streets. I started living on the streets. Um, I started stealing, which they call, well, they call it boosting, which is just a fancy word for stealing. you know,
Right.
uh, I started doing all those things just to get high. I hustle and make $500-600 a day, stealing stuff and selling it, and wouldn't even put $2 aside for a Happy Meal. You know, because I knew that I could find me a dumpster behind a McDonald's or a Wendy's or a grocery stores and jump in that dumpster and find me something to eat. And I did that. I did that. I mean, I got in. I'm not talking about looking in. I'm talking about I would raise the top over a trash dumpster up and get over in there and scrape around in there and see what I can find. And I ate what I could find.
Wow.
And as gross as that may sound, but when you're under the control and the influence of something that you cannot mentally or physically control, it would have you doing anything. you know it would have you doing stuff now, and it's insanity. And that's why I tell people, when you're drunk and you stumbling around, you under the influence of alcohol. When you are high on drugs or crack cocaine or whatever it may be, you under the influence of that. And so and you have the ability to do things that you wouldn't normally do if you were sober. If you were
Right.
sober, if I was sober and wasn't on dope, I ain't getting in no trash can. you know,
Right.
and so that lets me know that that's a demonic spirit that
Right.
has taken over me. You know, um, and the only influence that it has and the power that it has is the power that I give it.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
crack cocaine never came to my door, knocked on my door, and say, "Let's get high."
Right.
It
Right,
never did that. It didn't bother me until I bothered it.
right,
You know, it
right,
never. Crack didn't have don't have the ability to jump up on my crack pipe unless
right,
I put it up there.
right.
You know, so it only has the power that I give it, and that's how I live, man. I ended up, man. I slept in doorways where feces and urine where people had urinated. I didn't care. Once I had ran all day, I didn't care. I just need to get somewhere and go sleep, lay down until till in the morning come, till the sun come up, and until I can start this same madness all over again.
Wow,
You know,
wow.
living in abandoned buildings. You know, living
And
in
this is
abandoned.
and this is while you was in Florida, while your
This is
mom
why,
and mom
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. They
at the
couldn't.
same
They
church right here, right?
the same church I'm in right now. I'm
Wow.
in that very church right now, and I remember. Let me tell you something. You know, I always believe, Leo. I believe in keeping it real, man. You know, I don't want. I want people to understand just the power of God. You know, just how powerful God is. Man, I had my mother let me use her car one time, and which it was a mistake on her part. You know,
Right.
I didn't come back for 2 weeks. Actually, they found the car. I left the car.
Shoot. Wow.
You know, my nephew, they was looking for me, and I had just left the dope hole in the car. They saw the car, they followed me, pulled me over. I got, I got 50, $60 for dope in my pocket, and so they say, Mom wants you to come home. She just said, just bring the car home, just come on home. Really? I walked away from that. Gave them the keys and walked away. I wasn't finna go home. That's how I was jonesing to get high, man. I left the car. Gave him
Wow.
the keys, walked off. Another time, then another time I came back in. One time I took the car, sold all the tires off of
Right.
it. You know, um,
See,
just
that's what you say you are in bondage. You are in captivity. That was like your own Egypt, to be honest
ab-
with you.
absolutely, absolutely, man. And so a lot of I mean, people can do it how they want to do it, share their testimony how they want to share it. But man, I tell it all.
I,
Cause see,
I
I,
get you.
I, I, I tell it all, man. Cause see, now the devil ain't got nothing to talk about. He ain't got nothing to tell you. He can't. He ain't got nothing to talk about, man. He just threw up his hand and go, I was gonna tell him he did that. But it was so much crazy. I remember one time I was living down the street from this very church. There used to be some woods, you know, and now there's apartments down there. There used to be some woods there, man. And me and a couple guys, that's where we lived. That's where we lived at. I would walk by this very church, people to tell my brother, Bishop, I seen Ricky walking around. It wasn't nothing they could do for me. They wasn't like they didn't try to help me. And so many times we start trying to blame everybody else. Oh, if you had did this, or if you had, no, man, that was me. That was
Right.
all me. I had all the support in the world. I just didn't utilize it.
Right.
you know. And I never will forget. I was up in them woods, man. Like I look like John the Baptist. You know how to say John the Baptist when
I
you
was in
go.
the woods. Yeah, I've been
That's how I was.
there.
I was filthy, man. I'm 6'2". I was down to like 140 pounds, man, looking like Skeletor or somebody, man.
Mhm.
I used to have to tie my pants up with a string, with
Wow.
a string. And the guy came in. One of the guys came in. He said, Malone, your mom out there, man, at the street. She at the street, and she told me to tell you to come here and say she's not leaving until you come. And all of us that have mamas, man, know how mama is.
Hmm.
I knew she wasn't gonna leave until I came. And so I came out to the street, and she had a bag in her hand, and she said, "Here, baby, I bought you some food." And then she said, "Here, take this $40." And she said, "I got to let you go." She said, "I got to turn you over to God." And God promised me that He's gonna, when He get through with you, you're gonna be something to deal with. And so that I'm believing that God's going to do what he promised he was going to do, and what he showed me you were to become. And she
Wow.
said, but I'm going to get out of God's way.
Wow.
And she walked to her car. I'm standing in the street, and she drove off. Now, can you imagine, man? You know, it's even emotional for me now because my mother's dead and gone, but she was able to watch me walk it out for years. And that was, and can you imagine my mother or your mother having to drive away, look in her rearview mirror and see her oldest son looking like that, wanting to take me home. No, she wanted to take me home, clean me up, feed me. And she had to, I can only imagine how hard that was on her. And so many times people would be doing crazy stuff and be saying, well, I ain't hurt nobody but me. Well, then if you're not hurting nobody but you, then really don't nobody love you.
Right. Right.
If you
Right.
saying this your mess and your craziness is not affecting nobody but you only hurt you, then you don't have nobody in your life that care nothing about you.
Right.
And so that's really not a true statement because everybody got somebody that at least one person love you.
Right.
And you know, and so I did all of that, man, and I remember that moment as if it was yesterday, you know, and people laughing at me. You know, people were laughing at me, you know. They thought they was, you know, was running, you know, was telling something by going back telling their pastor, which was my brother, yeah, Ricky, we saw him out there wandering around. I had a guy, man, And this and the thing, and I want to say this for those that's listening, um, sometimes, man, church people could do you worse than the people in the street. You know,
I
people
agree
that
with you.
people that say they love the Lord and you know I'm on fire for the Lord and you know and they are quick to say, oh, I've been in church all my life, but maybe you know, oh, I've been in church all my life. What I always say, well, maybe that's the problem. You got too much church in you. You know, you ain't said one time that you've been the church. I've been in church all my life, and it's a bad day when you start listening to folks tell you about your skeleton while they lean up against the closet door there. Ask them to open that, because 9 out of 10 times they skeleton still got some meat on. You know, and I remember a minister. He's no longer at this church. I remember a minister that would work for the county, and I was sitting on the busway. And man, I had just I been up all night. It was about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Man, I needed me some dope, man, to get my day started. And he was worked for the county, and he came down the busway and happened to see me sitting there. Pull over, and he gets out his car. And here he come, looking, acting like the Pharisees, you know. When you gonna straighten up? Look at you. You look how you looking. Your mama. Listen. Look at how you doing. Your mama. Look how you. You know. What do you think Bishop think about this? Oh man, he started just going in on me. Man, I ain't want to hear that. You know, I ain't trying to hear that. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, you ain't telling me nothing I don't know.
Right. Right.
You know. And so he did all of that, and then he went in his pocket, man, and he pulled out a knot that big enough to choke a racehorse. And he went through the money and he pulled out a $5 bill. He put out a $5 bill and he said, "Here, no, you ain't doing about no dope with it. I know you ain't doing about some dope with it." Well, I said myself, you got that right. You know, you got that right. And so when I stuck my hand out to take the $5, he dropped it on the ground.
Wow. Wow.
And then when I bent down to pick it up, he stepped on it. He put his foot on it. And man, when you in that vulnerable state like that, man, people will handle you any kind of way. And I pulled the $5 from up under his shoe, and I went to the dope hole. You know, that's humiliating as a man for another man to do another man like that. But that actually happened. And that same guy, man, came through this church one time. One day I was in my office. He even recognized me. And when he did, he began to cry. He began to cry. And see, bro, we can't, when God bring us out, man, we can't be having all that get back spirit, that na spirit. Oh, I'm gonna get even, or that Janet Jackson, how you like me now? What have you done for me lately? And he began to weep, and he began to share that they had diagnosed him with cancer, prostate cancer, and he was worried about going back to the doctor because he was going back for them to tell him what treatment they was going to use for it. And so I asked him a simple question. I said, "Hey, bro, can I pray for you?" And he said, "Yeah." And I stood him up, man, and the Lord told me to embrace him. And I did. I embraced him. My flesh didn't feel like doing it. you know, you know, but my spirit, man, was stronger, because you have to always know what you feed is what grows.
Mm.
If you feed your flesh gonna be strong. You feed your spirit man gonna be stronger, because your flesh ain't gonna never be happy. Flesh gonna always, the flesh ain't never satisfied. You can buy a brand new Bentley and drive out the parking lot with it and see one and say, you know what, I should have got it in green. And so I prayed, I hugged him, and I embraced him, and I prayed for him, man. And I asked God to heal him. I asked God to heal him. And that was on a Wednesday. He went back to the doctor on that Friday. He called me Tuesday crying. And I said, "What's wrong, man?" He said, "Man, they can't find no cancer.
Wow.
They can't find no cancer." And that'd been 8 years ago, maybe not longer than that, man. He called me every now and then. He'd pick up the phone and say, "Hey, man, I thank God for you." I had to really tell him, "Man, stop apologizing."
Yeah.
Because he said, "Man, I remember that time." I said, "Bro, it don't matter." It don't matter. It didn't stop nothing.
Right.
See, nobody. Here's something people you should know. Your mess would never be big enough to mess up God's plan for your life.
Mm-hmm.
It never will be. I did all of that craziness. I was living under a bridge, sleeping on an old twin size mattress that I drug up under the bridge, waking up with rats crawling all over me, palmetto bugs and all of those things crawling on me, man, and taking a bath in the canal that ran along there, eating, going through the malls and eating what people leave on the table, look at people laughing at me. I used to have a old Nike tennis shoe on one foot and an Adidas tennis shoe on another foot. Not taking a bath for days, weeks, weeks. And none of that could stop God's plan for my life.
Wow.
Wow. In and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail. I had almost 40 felony convictions.
And that's where I was going with it, Pastor, because I know you told me that, but that was powerful what you said about your mom and by the gentleman, right, who came back, and you had to stop him from apologizing. So then you already beat me to the punch, because now I want to ask you, when was your Damascus moment? When did you know that, okay, it's time for it, Jesus or God was talking to you, and he put that light on top of you, and it was time to make that change?
When I went to jail in December of 2003, I went to jail the day after Christmas because I got caught stealing. I went to jail the day after Christmas. And when I went before the judge, the state's attorney, which was a Black lady, young Black girl, told my public defender that they was going to recommend 8 years, 6 years minimum. And he came to me, he said, Ricardo, the state is going to recommend 8 years, 6 years minimum, and she ain't budging. So I said, well, go over there and talk to her and see what you can work out. And so he did. And I could tell from her demeanor, she was like, I ain't finna, 8 years, 6 years minimum. So he came back and he said, Ricardo, based upon your record, man, I don't know. You might have to take that. I said, no, you take it. He talking about you take you might have to take it. I know you take it. I ain't taking that. You know, since it's that easy, you take it. And so, and then Judge Miller asked the state what they was offering. They told him, and he was looking at my record, and he said, "Are you willing to?" He asked the state, "Are they willing to take anything less than that?" She said, "No." She said, "We want 8 years in the federal state penitentiary with or 6 years minimum is what we will accept." So the judge looked at me and he said to the state, he said, "You know what? I don't believe Mr. Malone's a bad person." He said, "I just believe he got a drug problem because all I see is theft. Never see nothing. I don't see anything in his record of any violence, or I don't even see a drug charge, which I never had. I never had a drug charge, you know." And so he said, "I just think he just got a drug problem." And so he said, "Mr. Malone, if you take a 364 with 2 years probation and 125 community service hours, if you were willing to take that, I'll overrule the state and I'll give you that today." Man, my hand went up, man, like he had offered me a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, man. My hand went up so fast, man. I said, "Yes, sir, I'll take it." And so the state was mad. Anyway, but he did put a stipulation on it. He said, "If you come back to my courtroom, I'll put it in your record. If you come back for as much as jaywalking, I wanted you to come to my courtroom, and I'm gonna give you all 8 of those years." And that sounded like a good deal, so I took it. And when I went in to start, which would be 11 months, I had to do get near the 9 months, and I was scared, bro. I was scared when it came time to really get ready to be released, man, because I didn't know if I could do it, you know. And I asked God, sitting on my bunk, I asked God, I said, "Lord, if you give me one more chance to get this thing right, I'll do everything that you tell me to do. If you give me one more shot at this." And the Spirit of the Lord immediately said to me, "That's all I've been waiting on." He said, "If you do everything that I tell you to do, I'll give you back everything that you allowed the enemy to steal from you over the last 20 years. And I said, wow. I sat on my bunk and I cried like a baby, man. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon me in such a way, man, that I had never felt before. And I felt crack cocaine leave my body. I felt the addiction leave my body. I felt all of the things that had me in bondage leave my body. And I felt light, man. You know, I felt renewed. And God said, "I'm going to restore every area of your life." And I got out of jail October 24th, 2004. And my life changed, bro. My life, the day I got out of jail, I didn't have nowhere to go. My mother told me I could come home. Everybody was saying, "You don't let him come back home again. You know, Ricky ain't gonna be acting right. Ricky ain't gonna do this." Mom said, no, he can come here. And the day I got out of jail, bro, the same day. I had been out 24 hours. A young lady came, dropped my wife, dropped my sister off and spoke to my mother. And she walked back out the door. And the Lord told me to go to the door, go to the window. I went to the window and looked out. He said, "That's your wife." I said, "You do know I just got out of jail. You do know I don't have a job." He said, "I know all of those things." He said, "But what I'm going to do in your life is going to be so phenomenal that you're going to need someone to walk with you through the process. And if I do it first, you'll never take a wife, because you'll think the average woman wants you for what you have. And I'm not going to leave you vulnerable to the Jezebels." And I trusted him, man. And me and Jackie be married 17 years.
Wow.
In February.
Wow.
You know,
wow,
it just, man, I mean, I could go on, Leo, I can go on. And I got so much DNA, God's DNA on my life, man. There is no way that anybody, I don't care who that person may be, would ever be able to convince me that there is not a God. I'm here to tell you that there is. I've seen God. Look here, bro. I had almost 40 felony convictions. God wiped all of that out. I got a letter, man. I got a letter like in 2007, 2008 from the governor's office. Gave me all my rights back. I ain't do nothing. I didn't apply for anything. God wiped out a 20-something thousand dollar IRS debt. Wiped it out. And when I asked them about it, my accountant was so scared. I was so scared that they was making a mistake because they say they didn't have nothing on me. And they said, look, they told my accountant, not only do he not owe us anything, he has never owed us anything.
Wow.
And I'm looking at the 20-something thousand dollars on my credit report. That's how God will do it. And when God started restoring you, you got to look like he intended you to look. And when God say he gonna restore every area of it, you can't start working on a 66 Chevy saying you gonna restore it and all you do is change the tires. If you restoring a 66 Chevy, it's got to look like it looked in 66. Then you can say it's restored, you know? And so, and I've seen it. Now, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, bro. That's why I tell guys and women that I talk to that might be going through an addiction, you got to do the work. See, God will deliver you, but it's up to you to walk it out. You have to walk out your deliverance, you know? And it was in that moment, it was those last 11 months, man, that changed my entire life, you know?
Wow. So, Pastor, and with that, now that from that time when you were out, even up to now, maybe, because you have doubters, people who may still even be like, "Oh, he gonna tell." What challenges have you faced in between them? What were some of the challenges you faced during that time?
Some of the was getting people to believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Getting people to believe me when my wife and I decided that we was going to get married. We had only dated 3 months. Everybody said I was going to mess up her life. I just wanted her because of what she had. She's a nurse practitioner. She had just built a brand new house. She didn't need me, but God did. And God God chose her for me and me for her. Now I had people, and you're absolutely right, man. I've been walking this out almost 18 years, man. And I still know there's people out there that saying one day he gonna mess up. And you know what? And it's their opinion. And because it's their opinion, I'm gonna let them have what belongs to them. That's theirs. And so it was many challenges, man. I had to learn how to live again. Bruh, I didn't know how to go in the store without stealing something.
Wow.
I didn't know how to go. I had to go from being a shoplifter to being a shopper.
Wow.
You know,
You know,
and
I'm not
and
laughing at you, but
I, it's
as simple as that. It's like, wow,
yeah, I
wow.
know. And because man, I remember one time we had went into the store, man. We had went into a public grocery store, and man, I was casing a joint. Self-consciously, I was casing a joint. And then all of a sudden, anxiety hit me, bro. I was like, I got anxious, man. I started sweating, you know, and I told my wife, I gotta go, I gotta go. She said, what are you doing? I left this, I ran out the store, jumped in the car. I was sitting there shaking. And so she come out and she said, what's wrong with you? I said, yeah, I can't be in the store. I can't be in the store. I can't be. So she said, so you just never gonna go in the store again. So you're gonna be in bondage to that. So what you need to do and what you're gonna do is fight your way through it. And you're gonna take those thoughts captive. So I had to do that. I had to take those thoughts captive, man. And I understood what God had given her and placed her in my life so that so she could push me and through to where God wanted me to be, man. I had people laughing at me, man. I had people laughing, looking like, man, you ain't gonna make it, dude. You know, you ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna, it's just temporary. I went through that with family members, man.
Mm.
You know, when my
It's
wife and I
similar
was
to what you
arguing,
said, Pastor. Like what you said, sometimes the church people are the most hypocritical people. Well, sometimes your family will do you worse than people on the street.
you better believe it. You better believe it. You know, and that happened, man. Even I even would even say this, man. When I decided to get married, my mother told me that wasn't God.
Wow.
She said, Ricky, God, why would God give you a wife and you won't even have a job? Why would God give you a wife and you don't even have nothing? I said, cause he God. He God. He ain't see when we understand God, God is not concerned about where we were. He's concerned about where we're going. God is not concerned about what we became. He's concerned about what we are to become.
Mm.
Because he's God. And she didn't even come to my wedding.
Wow.
Several of some of my sisters, my brother, they didn't come to my wedding because they like, oh, ain't none of God. But you know what? And it hurt me, man. If I wasn't strong at that, and I hadn't been off dope even a year yet, but I
Yeah.
had a promise, and I held on to my promise because if I didn't, I'd have went back out, and that's what they would have wanted, you know. And let me tell you something, man. People will tell you they want to see you make it until you do.
Mm.
You know, a lot of times people will tell you they want to see you make it just in case you do, but they really don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they really don't believe it, man. And I was so hurt by it. And the Lord said to me the day of my wedding, he said, don't worry about it. As much as it hurt, they gonna need you before you need them. And when they need you, help them. And you know what? That's exactly what I had to do. You know, that's exactly what I had to do, you know. And God provided, man. You know, my wife, uh, she put my name on the deed of the house, man. I'm kind of like, are you serious? Are you serious? We had been married like a year. And I wasn't gonna do it because man, I was like, oh, baby, we gonna get our own house. When I get a job, we gonna get this. And she was like, yes, no. When I come back from the hospital, you have this them thing signed because she's a nurse practitioner director. And so, man, I wasn't gonna do it until the Lord told me to go outside. He told me to go outside in the middle of July in Miami. You know how hot it is.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
began to tell me that he said, I had her in mind for you and you in mind for her long before she even built this house. And he told me to turn around and look above my garage. He said, how old are you? I said, I'm 49. He said, how old is Jackie? I said, she's 37. Man, my address is 4937.
Hmm.
I was 49 years old when we got married, and she was 37. Can't nobody orchestrate that kind of stuff for God, man.
Hmm.
And God didn't have that problem out of me no more, you know. And it was major challenges, man, you know, from people, from people,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I had guys, man. I had guys tell me, man, like I had a guy tell me right in front of my wife, he don't treat you right, let me know, I'll take care of it. They told me that in front of me, bro. I ain't I ain't forget how to be crazy. I just stopped acting crazy. You know, I ain't get rid of the gorilla suit. It's just in the back of the closet. And it's one size fit, and it's one size fit all. You know, I ain't forget I ain't forgot how to fight. I just don't fight no more.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And you tell me, hey man, he told me that, hey man, he told me in front of my wife. The other guy told, oh, how all these junkies get all these good women. Yeah.
Wow.
I
Wow.
had, bruh, you talking about when the Bible talk about turn the other cheek, man, I had to turn the whole body, man. You know, I had to turn the whole body, man. I mean, those are the things, man, that I always know this. And those of you that may be listening,
Yep.
God is not gonna hold you. God is never gonna hold you responsible for how anyone respond to you. He's gonna only hold you responsible for how you respond to them.
Mm.
And that's what's important. And never give anyone the power to snatch you out of the will of God.
Mm.
It's not worth it. You know, I'd rather I'd rather be I'd rather for an individual to be mad at me than for God to ever be mad at me.
Mm.
And was it easy? No. But you know what? It got easier. You know, it got easier because I let God fight my battles.
Mhm.
I let God fight
Mhm.
my battles. You know, I let God represent me. And when you got God as your representation, man, you got the best representation in the world.
Right.
And when you begin to walk in the things of God, and now that I got here only because of God. I do the things in ministry, uh, not because I'm so smart, because I'm not. Because I got out of high school with just enough credits to get out. I had to threaten the art teacher to give me a D so I could graduate. So I know I'm not that smart. I know that. And so everything that I know, God taught me, you know, through life, through my challenges, through my mess, you know, through my struggle.
Mhm.
And you know what? We all struggle with something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the religious saint, even those that I've been in church, all them people, they struggle with something.
Some too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
struggle with something. And
Yeah.
and we're gonna always, and we're never gonna be mistake free.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're never gonna be mistake free because God ain't gonna allow it. Because if God allow us to be mistake free, we ain't gonna never say thank you, Lord. We ain't
Yeah.
gonna never say, God, I need you. We gonna completely forget about God.
Yeah.
So God gonna always, that's why he was talking about that. When he's talking about, why you take this thorn? No, I'm gonna leave that thorn in your side. My grace is sufficient enough,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And people, grace is for everybody, not
Hmm.
just a chosen few. It's
Hmm.
for everybody.
Right. Right.
God don't
Right.
have no respect to person. He
Yeah.
don't have no he don't have no respect to person.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he
I
don't.
say, Pastor, he don't have no favorites. He
He
love us
don't.
all the same, you know.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
He loves us all the same because God's love is not based upon our love for him.
Mhm.
It's based upon his love for
For
us.
us, right?
God, 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 I say this, God is the most quintessential egomaniac there is. Cause God got cherubims, he got angels praising him 24/7, telling him how awesome he is, telling him how grateful he is. And he still want me and Leo, he still want us to say, thank you, Lord God, you awesome. He still everything that God do is for him to get glory out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he does his best shopping. God does his best shopping in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus got ready, when Jesus got ready to make 12 disciples, he didn't go to the church. He didn't go get 12 deacons. He didn't go get 12 trustees. He didn't go 12 pastors. He didn't go get 12 ministers. He went to the hood.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the club. He went to the street. He went to the street. he had to always stay on Peter. Well, always stay on Peter. John, all of them, they was
Hot
always
head.
fighting.
Yeah.
Hot head. Cut the Joker ears off.
Peter, hot head, man.
Cut Joker ears. Cut Joker
Yeah,
ears off, man. You know,
yeah. But like
and
you
tell him,
said, that's the power. You know, that's the power of God. Because when you look at each disciple, that just goes to your point. Everybody had a struggle. Heck, Paul, before Paul became Paul, Saul was vicious, man. This dude was ruthless. You know what I mean?
yep.
Folks were scared of this dude. And now he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest writer in the New Testament. You know, wrote half the Bible.
But see, that's why I say, don't feel that, if you feel that you're not worthy, you're absolutely correct. But simply because God say that you are, that settles it. Half of the people that God used in the Bible were jacked up. Moses,
Yeah.
Paul was a murderer, like you said. Paul was a murderer. Everybody, Noah was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So that says something right there. The disciples couldn't even stay woke. They couldn't even stay woke.
Yep, when they was out in the woods and he asked to pray with them, they couldn't even stay.
They couldn't
Yep,
stay woke.
yep.
He's sleeping on the back of a boat. He chilling on the boat. The storm comes.
Yeah.
They go wake him up.
Yeah.
Instead of speaking to the storm like he did. We have that kind of power, man. The church just don't teach it. You know, so many preachers want you to be in bondage to their hand and not the hand of God.
Mm-hmm.
You got just as much power. If you feel a sickness in your body, you can lay your hand. It was grace to do crack cocaine. And when I first said that years ago, somebody like, how you know where you grace to do crack cocaine? Because I didn't die. When there's evidence of other people that OD. Dang, I smoked dope, man. I smoked a lot of dope in my life. You know, I sat up at a table with three ounces of cocaine on the table, and everybody, there was 6 of us at the table. We in the basement of this house, and we ain't never know when it was daylight or not, because we had all the windows covered up. We didn't know it was day or night, and we stayed up for days smoking, man, just cooking and smoking, and everybody at the table. One girl had a stroke, another guy had a heart attack, another dude passed out. I'm looking at all of them. Ain't nothing happened to me. You know, I just turned 66 this last month, man, and I ain't sick. And I done ate out of trash dumpsters and trash cans and all of that, man. And I had hepatitis C. I had hepatitis C. I was diagnosed with it. Oh man, maybe about 13, 14 years ago, right? And it came from drug use, you know. And my liver was bad, man. My liver was bad. But my doctor told me, he said, hey, but if you don't, you know, it ain't gonna get no better. But if you ain't drugging and drinking and all that stuff, it'll just, you know, it'll stay like that, but it won't get no worse, you know. And what you want to do? And that was in a doctor's office. They said, what you want to do? And he said, I'm gonna let you and Jackie talk about it. So wife left. I mean, he left out the room. So my wife said, well, my wife being, in the medical field, she said, baby, they could put you on a treatment for it. So what you want to do? I said, what? Ain't my problem. That's God's issue. He told me that he was going to restore everything in my life. Liver and hepatitis was included about the time that we wanted to happen.
Right.
And see, God, see, we could see some things that we want. It's some things it's just a want and not a need. Because God might not meet a want, but he'll meet a need, and then we'll discover that we didn't need what we want.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be like, you know what? I really didn't need that. Thank you, God. I didn't. And even when the enemy is attacking and stuff don't seem right, sometimes you just gotta say thank you for the confirmation. because the devil ain't messing with nobody that ain't going nowhere.
Right. Right.
And if somebody's talking about, oh well, and religious church folk have the devil don't bother me. That ain't saying nothing. That means you might be doing everything he wants you to do. Come on, devil don't bother. I'm get away from you. I think I'm just gonna sidestep on over here. You working for the devil. That devil don't bother me. That means you ain't doing nothing that's bothering him.
Yeah.
That ain't no great revelation. That ain't you don't get no trophy for that. That ain't gonna give you no orange or green jacket for that.
Right.
No, that ain't nothing, man. But it's just I just love, man. I just love just talking about the goodness of God, because we got a generation out there, a younger generation out there that need to know that God is real, man. God is real. He real. I'm a living testament of that. Cause here's the thing. The only reason the devil didn't kill me is because he couldn't. He was sure trying.
Yeah.
You think see, here's the thing. That's why when he asked God asked him, you're a bad, you something else when God consider you. When God say, Satan, have you considered Leo? It's a bad day when God send the devil at you, man.
Ain't that something? Wow.
What can you do?
Yeah.
When God give the devil access to you. But one thing he does, one thing you better know is if he give the devil access to you, he already know you're gonna pass the test.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't give the devil access to you if it wasn't so. Because he ain't finna let the devil come back and say, yeah, that's why he put stipulation on it. That's why he said, can't kill him. So what he did was he couldn't kill him. So the devil want to get Job to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he started attacking everything around him. But you know why he was stupid at? He was attacking the wrong thing. That's why Job kept saying, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Mm-hmm.
Because Job's faith wasn't in what he had.
Right.
His faith wasn't his faith. So in other words, if your faith is in your job, Leo, and you lose your job, you might lose your mind.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if your faith is in the one that gave you the job, then you say, well, he gave me this one, he'll give me another.
Right.
And that's how we have to condition ourselves. And that's why we got to get in the presence of God. That's why we got to know what God is saying to each individual. You should want to know what God is saying, what God is not saying, and what he is not doing or saying in your life. And you have every right. Every person as a believer have every right to talk to God, have every right to have conversation with God. And God will speak to you right where you are. And God don't speak to everybody in the King James Version. He speak to you right. I don't go before God talking about. now, Lord, if thou is the greatest God of all. I say, hey, God, this me. I need you to look at something right now. I need you to consider something on my behalf. I don't be going all that spooky stuff, man. Got light candles and all this here, and tell everybody to be quiet in the room and all that stuff. Man, I'm talking, I don't care what.
Your mute is on, Pastor.
I need God to do something.
Right.
You got time. Hey, y'all, shh, y'all get quiet right quick while I pray. And pray silent.
Right. Well, Pastor, I appreciate it, man. Look,
man.
You just gave a whole word from purpose, challenges, overcoming, fighting the battle. I think me and you talked about it, being a soldier, because that's what we are. We soldiers, so we supposed to fight, Something my mom told me, Pastor, was when you look at that armor, why you think he didn't put nothing on your back? Because it wasn't meant for you to turn around. You supposed to keep foot moving forward, and I'm just blessed to see you doing that, moving forward and fighting the good fight, and standing strong, and just allowing me to be a part of, the serenity, the area that you're in. So I truly appreciate you just taking out time just to, give this testimony, man.
Anytime, man. And another thing about that armor that you just said, you remember when Saul tried to get David his armor? It was
too big.
You don't want to put on nothing that you ain't tested.
Right.
you feel put on your own armor. It wouldn't fit it. He'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
So you can't put on because David had not tested the armor himself. It might work for you. See, something that worked for you might not work for me, and something that worked for me might not work for you. And so that's why we have to always know, and we have to be careful about saying, I wish I had what Leo had. I wish I could do what Leo do. You better first go ask Leo what it took for him to get it.
Right.
Because when Leo tell you what it took for you to get it, then you might say, you know what, bro, I'm gonna let you have it.
Right.
I'm gonna let you have it. Because I tell people all the time, man, Elder, if I had your hand, man, it was so crazy, man. Like, if I had your hand, Elder, man, I cut mine off. I said, oh, really? Oh, man, yeah, man, because you're the Lord using. I said, okay, you want that crack pipe? You want that abandoned building? You want that jailhouse? You want sleeping on the sidewalk? I don't know. I don't want all that. But you can't have what I got. So that's what it took for me to get it. Jesus, God made Jesus a promise. The right hand of his Father. But he had to go through something. He had to be processed to that seat, man. He had to go through the process of the cross. And that's what kept him going when he wanted to give up. And always know this, people. If you know what your purpose is and you know what your process is, you remember that when a problem show up. When a problem show up, remember your purpose and your promise. And if you can remember your purpose and your promise, you can get past the problem. Because you know that if God said it, that means I'm going to get through this because he gave me a promise. And that's why when the children of Israel got through the Red Sea, the promise was on the other side. And so God had to make a way for them to get there. And drowning wasn't one.
Right.
And so God is known to make a way out of no way. Wasn't no pathway when they got there to the Red Sea.
Yeah.
He made one. And they didn't even get wet. They didn't even get muddy feet. And God would allow your enemies to drown in what he allowed you to pass through. And so that's why you can't worry about people chasing you. You can't worry about what's behind your back. It's behind you for a reason.
Yeah.
It's behind you for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So man, I anytime you need me, man, all you do is hit me up. I ain't that busy and I ain't that important.
You know what? I
Yeah.
appreciate it, Pastor. And I'll definitely be giving you these links. For those y'all
Okay.
can check it out at www.anointedexperience.com if you're driving in your car on the audio. And check us out on our YouTube at Anointed Experience YouTube page. But I'll be giving you all the links. So if you want to post and put it on your stuff as well. But I appreciate you, Pastor. Love you. Thank you, man. And
God bless you.
I'll definitely be talking to you soon. And I'll be
Okay.
talking to everybody else soon either. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good day. Thank you,
You
Pastor.
too, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.